sitting there going, y'all ain't got a relationship, a good job, a career. I'm paying for colleges and I don't know how I'm listening to y'all making some decisions. Y'all ain't got one boyfriend that done worked thus far. So I don't know how the hell you finna tell me how to live. My sons was over there cool with it.
Steve Harvey's life just took an astonishing plunge. His very own biological children are now thrusting him into the limelight for being an absentee dad.
I didn't really have my dad full-time into my life until I was 16. Right?
The past few weeks have been nothing short of chaotic for Mr. Harvey, but it appears that Marjorie's alleged infidelity is just the tip of the iceberg. His 4 biological offspring are spilling the beans, claiming Marjorie orchestrated a choice that made Steve neglect his own children. No wonder he's failed as a father to them. Seriously, every time we think the Harvey family can't get any more dysfunctional, another bombshell drops that makes us reconsider.
One night in Memphis, when me and Marjorie first got together, we brought all the kids together, all 7 of them. And all the girls went bowling and came back and decided they didn't want us to get married and said they don't think it's the right thing to do.
With these fresh allegations about Steve's terrible parenting, it's safe to say he won't be in the running for any Father of the Year awards. But don't mistake this mess for a simple financial or inheritance dispute. According to someone deeply embedded in the Harvey family dynamics, money's a part of it. But the crux of the matter is the years of emotional neglect Steve's kids have had to endure. While Steve has been lavishing affection on Marjorie and her children, his own have been left out in the cold. Now, people have always talked about how admirable it was that Steve chose to love Marjorie's kids like they were his own kids. But it turns out that his biological kids feel like he loves Marjorie's kids like they are his only kids. And it's easy to see why they would feel this way, because Steve really does act like Marjorie's kids are his only kids that he's ever had. Now, this has caused a lot of issues between Steve and his children, but especially because he treated his own kids like crap. And I'm not just talking about abandonment. Well, he did abandon them, but the ones who were only abandoned were lucky ones, because his second son, Winton, was not abandoned by Steve, and he had it way worse than the 3 kids who got abandoned. Steve was married twice before he got married to Marjorie, and both marriages were a disaster. His first wife was Marcia Harvey, and she is the mother of his first 3 kids, Brandy, Carly, and Broderick. Steve started pursuing his second wife, Mary, when Broderick was still a toddler. But he didn't tell Mary that he was a married man. He was already an absentee father in the lives of his first 3 kids when he divorced their mom and got married to Mary. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but Mary was the one who helped Steve build his comedy career. She literally put in all her life savings into helping him set up his comedy career so that he could make more money. He was still struggling at that point, and it was when he was performing at a comedy club where Marjorie was in attendance. Steve spied Marjorie out in the crowd, and he immediately fell in love with her. He tried to make some moves on her, but she turned him down because he wasn't rich enough for her. Oh, and they were both married at the time, but I don't think that mattered very much since Steve, because he even admitted that he had cheated on his first 2 wives a lot. He said, "Marjorie changed the way I existed. I never have been in a healthy adult relationship. I have never been loyal. I have never been fully respected." He said, well, he hit it big, and Hollywood made a whole lot of money and ended up dumping Mary. Surprise. Surprise. He started dating Marjorie a few months later. He claimed that his bodyguard had been the one who set them up together, saying, "He told me, look, the only time I've ever seen you happy was when you were with that woman, Marjorie. Now before you go and do something stupid and marry another woman, I'm calling her." It was like being reborn. I messed up so many times in my life. She made all the difference. When you're happy at home, you can make a lot of things happen. And while he was out here playing love-a-boy with Marjorie, he basically ignored his first 3 kids, and it got really bad. In fact, there are reports that he didn't even attend the high school graduation of his twins. Someone who knew the twins in high school made this revelation, saying, "I went to school with the twins. They were a few years ahead of me, but people always talked and all eyes were on them because of who their father was. He wasn't present after graduation." Now, y'all, I don't know the circumstances, but that is really, really sad. Not all, according to Broderick, Steve was also absent from his life for his first 16 years. Yeah, it's very, very sad, but as badass that is, the kids who were ignored kinda had it good because he didn't ignore his son with Winton. Now listen, When I tell you all that Winton had the worst of the first three, if you were wondering why Winton didn't get ignored, well, according to Winton himself, he allegedly believes that it's because Steve was trying to punish his mom by using their son. For those who don't know, Steve's divorce from Mary was messed up, and it looks like he was using Winton to get back at her. According to Mary, Steve used to put his hands on Winton, if you all know what I mean. And it all started around the time he started dating Marjorie. Now, I'm not saying that Marjorie had something to do with Steve putting hands on his son, but Mary allegedly believes that Marjorie was trying to drive Winton and Steve even further apart. Allegedly, Steve got so abusive towards Winton that the police had to get involved at some point. TMZ even reported it saying, according to the kids, Steve hit him with a belt and then a paddleboard, the kind used for hazing and fraternities. According to the police report, cops took photos of the boy's injuries, showing bruises on his buttocks and right thigh, as well as cuts on his leg. The police report says the boy told cops the feeding was so brutal he had trouble urinating for days. The case was investigated by CPS, of course, but it was ultimately dropped. So when I say the kids who were ignored had it better, I wasn't joking. Now, I'm not trying to say that Steve doesn't love his children because he does seem to care about them a lot. But according to Brandy and Carly, Marjorie allegedly made it clear that she had to be Steve's #1 priority, and Steve probably took that to mean that she had to come before his kids and was more than happy to do that. And just how did he show her that she was his #1? Well, he decided to love her kids like he didn't love his own. To start with, he adopted all 3 of her kids and gave them his last name, which didn't make a lot of sense to most people. This is because her first 2 kids, Morgan and Jason, were already adults at the time. There was no reason for them to be adopted. But Marjorie wanted her kids to have the Harvey name because she knew that it would open a lot of doors for them. Plus, she also wanted to distance them from the fact that their fathers were drug dealers, and the Harvey last name was the best way for her to do that. Steve didn't stop at giving him his last name because he also gave them preferential treatment. He especially pampered Lori, and they frequently went on dates. His elegant preferential treatment of Lori and Marjorie's kids generally has caused a big issue in the family, and an insider said he did the right thing adopting Marjorie's kids and loves them like his own. But there's a lot of dissension among the blended Harvey claim. There has unfortunately been some jealousy lingering amongst the siblings over Lori, who's the most famous of all Steve's kids, taking over the spotlight with her high-profile love life. But you all, it gets really bad when you realize that Steve's daughters begged him not to marry Marjorie.
One night in Memphis, when me and Marjorie first got together, we brought all the kids together, all 7 of them. And all the girls went bowling and came back and decided they didn't want us to get married and said they don't think it's the right thing to do.
But he didn't listen to them because he was the one paying their bills and didn't think that their opinions matter.
Y'all ain't got a relationship, a good job, a career. I'm paying for colleges and I don't know how I'm listening to y'all making some decisions. Y'all ain't got one boyfriend that done worked thus far. So I don't know how the hell you finna tell me how to live. My sons was over there cool with it.
It honestly doesn't seem like he likes his kids all that much. So who can blame them for feeling a type of way about Marjorie and her kids? But even though they don't really like Marjorie all that much, they have to take their L's in peace because Steve will have it no other way. Now, we all had a slight idea of what was going on in the Harvey family, but these new revelations are just crazy. Fans love comments saying, "Wow, so sad. Steve took care of somebody else's children while absent from the lives of his biological kids. I view him through different eyes. I don't understand how you can turn your back on your seed and go on to raise someone else's with no real remorse." And funny fact, Steve hates kids that look like him and loves kids that look like Marjorie. These are some insane allegations and situations, but I want to know what you all think about this. Do you think Marjorie is as evil as they're trying to paint her out to be? Or do you think that Steve is to blame here? Let me know what you think in the comments, and then check out this next video.